in a time of uncertainty, just to get information, to see that everybody's going through the same thing, give a little bit of hope. But what's going on since the week that we talked? Last time you kind of had to do it by yourself because we had some technical difficulties, but luckily we're both here this time. So
yeah, a lot better this time. I was just telling Shelley, it's a little bit easier talking to somebody instead of looking in the mirror. Although I am Irish, Shelley, so I can start with the person in the mirror, but not really a lot has changed over the past week. I mean, the town hall is still closed, and we're probably thinking about keeping it closed for the next 2 weeks. And really, we're taking our cues from the governor and the county executive because they have all the information. The town supervisors meet virtually once a week. This Thursday, I'll have a meeting with them where everybody in the town or everybody in the county, all the supervisors meet and we share ideas and things. And pretty much we're all in the same situation. So like I said, we're thinking we're going to keep employees away from the town, because we don't want people to gather. As a community, we all have to do our part. And we got to stay home as much as possible. That's why that's another reason why I want to keep the town hall closed, so we don't get people coming in, exposing the employees to people that may be sick, and then they get sick, then we have to shut down anyway. I think that in public, we should all look at wearing our masks. They're saying masks are the thing. I have mine in my truck. When I go out now, I'm wearing my mask. That's the recommendations from the people that know. Now, we have been getting, like the Chief Leffenchuk said the other day, we have been getting reports of people congregating. And there's people walking on paths, being in open areas, and they're together. They don't have masks on. They're too close together. I mean, we got to try and not do that, because if we can hunker down, like the county executive said, for the next 2 weeks, we might be able to get past this peak, and it'll be on the downside. So that's what we're looking to do. That's what all government officials are looking to do, so that we can open back up for business. And if it gets bad enough, like I was just explaining to Shelley, the governor, I mean, he could send out an executive order and then make it mandatory to stay in. We don't want to get to that point. So hopefully, as the Lysander community, we're going to do as much as we can to make sure that everyone stays at home as much as you can. You don't gather as much as you can, and we should be okay.
Well, and we were talking earlier. Yesterday at 8 p.m. was when the golf courses, at least not the state run, but the local ones like Radisson, Foxfire, they need to shut down, and people were upset because if you go by yourself, especially if you would walk or go by yourself or walk it, but that's not what people were doing. I drove past Radisson a few times, and you'd see 4 or 5 people standing in a circle to golf, stuff like that. So the golf courses, they did get shut down yesterday. And you were talking about, the parks and what needs to happen in order for the parks to stay open. People can't be together, right?
If we see people, that's why the county executive shut the parks down, because reasonable people, the rule followers, are following the rules. But you get the selfish individuals that only care about themselves, and they're meeting together. Why do you think people are saying to stay away, to keep people healthy? Why are you gathering in groups? If you know that's the way that you get sick, why would you do that? I can't understand that as an adult. But this is taking a toll on everybody. I was explaining to Shelley, my son went out for a run with his two daughters, my 2 grandkids, the 10-year-old and the 7-year-old. And the 7-year-old was talking. She ran 1.5 miles, and he said every step she was talking the whole way. It's killing her not to see her friends. And she's no different than the rest of us. We want to get out, and we want to mingle with our friends, go out to dinner and things like that. But right now, we got to stay away from that urge to do that, and try to make phone calls as much as you can. I talk to my neighbors from our yards, do things like that. If you have to get out, go out and stay 20, 30 feet away from each other. Don't gather, but we have to, as responsible adults, that's what we have to do.
As I think, I have a couple kids, and my 15-year-old asked me, she's like, Mom, when can I actually hang out with my friends again? And I said, well, why don't you Zoom call? I saw on Facebook somebody had a virtual sleepover the other night with their friends. And I thought that was kind of a neat idea. but I was thinking about it, and our kids have been virtually connecting to their friends via FaceTime, Snapchat. They've been doing all that, so this is not new. Whereas I'm connecting with people I hadn't connected with face to face through Zoom happy hours, or but it's new to me. So that's what's kind of getting me through. But I do feel bad for the kids because they've been doing that. So it's not new. It's not exciting. It's like same old, same old. They want to gather at the mall, go to a movie, go get ice cream or Dunkin' Donuts or something. But for the most part, it's not kids I'm usually seeing together. It's adults. I think that the kids are doing a decent job of staying away from each other. I'm more adults out and about.
That's why we're getting it's more adults than it is the kids. I mean, certainly I've seen a couple of kids together, but when I go out and I see it, just like you said, out on the golf course, my wife and I noticed out on the Foxfire golf course, people were out there golfing, but normally it's pretty easy to stay apart from each other, but these people were kind of huddled closer together than they should have been. And when you're driving around town, when you do see people that are huddled together, it's usually older adults, people over 21 at least. But we have to stay away from that urge and do just like you said, have the virtual happy hour. In fact, a friend of ours tried to do one the other night with my wife and I, and we couldn't get the thing up and running. By the time we did, it was over. So, but those are some of the things that we all have to make a sacrifice right now. But I mean, you don't want the governor to come down and send down an executive order that says we have to stay in. That would be really bad. So hopefully people can stay away from that urge to gather together. And if everything that I've heard, and I'm listening to the governor and the county executive every day, Monday through Sunday, and we're reaching our peak. If we haven't plateaued right now, we're right there. And that's why they want the next 2 weeks are the most important thing, to stay away from each other, to stay home as much as you can. And hopefully we can be on the downside of this. Once we're on the downside, they're going to start opening things up. They want to do it. They want to do it, but they know they can't do it right now. But if we can get over that hump and be on the downside, I think you're going to see things start to open up. Some of us will be able to go back to work. Some of us are working every day. You're working, Shelley. I'm working. But getting back to work is important. And I think if we can do this for this next 2 weeks, we'll be okay.
We just had a comment on the stream about people stop using the grocery store, and I think that's the big thing. People, go to the store a lot. My dad, who's not with us any longer, but he was a daily grocery store guy. I gave him some place to go, so he would go. I'm trying to go and buy in bulk, so I don't, I'm going once every 2 weeks or something. But it's hard. It is hard to stay in. But like you said, if you wear the mask and you get out there. You talked about being at work, Bob. Are you finding that people are getting what they need when they call in or electronically? Are there any hiccups, things that aren't getting done?
I have weekly meetings with our department heads. Now, I'm not having one this week, and I might not have one next week because I want people to stay home. But as we're talking, I don't think there's been anything that we haven't been able to accomplish doing it the way we're doing it. Now, we have to make accommodations. I mean, there's different things that we have to do. But, and we're certainly not getting as many calls as we normally would because people just aren't as busy or as active. But to my understanding, we've been able to facilitate anything that anybody has needed through the town right now.
And that makes sense. Even like I just moved into the village, if you want to wear, and there's things that, maybe I would have called the code enforcer for, or a project or something that I want to do, but it's not necessary. So there's no point for me reaching out to Greg to ask questions for projects that probably won't happen for a month or two,
And the building, the governor and the county executive shut down the building. So a lot of the trades can't do what they normally do. So our codes department isn't, and our planning board isn't doing some of the things that they would normally do. So that's cut down on a lot of the requests for services from us. But while I'm thinking about it, I want to make sure that people understand Baldwinsville Helping Baldwinsville is a legitimate organization. Apparently some elderly lady called the hotline, and the hotline goes through the town. we're assisting Baldwinsville, helping Baldwinsville with the town service. And when they called, they didn't think that it was a legitimate organization. It is a legitimate organization. They are working with and through the town, and all the people had background checks, so you don't have to worry about them. Now, in saying that, again, people are scammers out there, and they're looking to take advantage of people during a crisis. Nobody from that organization will call you. You have to call them in order to get help.
Right. And they are doing a great job, especially for the fact that they just kind of formed it really quick. Nobody foresaw this coming and this need. So when Pam, who organized it, started putting it together, it really is a trial as you go type of thing. I think they're doing a great job. They have a lot of donations coming in. They're helping a lot of people. But you're right. The call has to come down.
For those of you that don't know, Shelley was very gracious and offered up her facility so that they could take in donations, because the Y wasn't able to do that again. If you could give them your address, Shelley, where that is, because I didn't have it offhand, and let them know, because my wife Roseanne's down there today. She needs something.
Nice. It's 12 Oswego Street. I always say it's the building in Baldwinsville that has the broken clock. There is grant money, or was grant money, depending on how this shakes out, that I was supposed to fix the clock this summer. So we'll see if that happens. But the address is 12 Oswego. There's parking for the village in the back, so it makes it a nice place to go. And I believe they're dropping stuff off outside just to keep the amount of people that are going into the building and around the donations to a minimum of 1 or 2. So that's nice. Your wife is down there helping too. There's a lot of great people in our community.
Well, she works for the courts, so she's off of work. They shut down the courts, so she'd offered to go down there. It gives her something to do as well. But I know that nobody can go into the place. What they're doing, when you call up, and they'll put the stuff outside, so there's no interaction. And if you want to drop things off, you drop it off outside. They bring it in, and I can tell you that they're cleaning all the cans and things like that. Now, that's not to say when you get it home that you shouldn't clean it as well. But I know that what Roseanne told me, that they were cleaning anything that they took in. They were cleaning it as good as they could so that there wasn't any transfer of any type of anything from anyone dropping anything off.
And I don't know if a lot of people are doing this, but I believe it was Dick Clark mentioned a week or so ago when I was talking to him that when they get something, they leave it out on the porch for a couple hours before they bring it into their house, just because, again, let the air kind of clean it off, then they wipe it down. I don't think there's anything that you can do to make to just be the most cautious you can be, especially when you're bringing something into your house or you're transferring something from one person's house to another house. I mean, we just don't know where all this virus is going to be.
Roseanne, before she brings it in, she takes it out of the bag, wipes it down with a Clorox wipe or some other type of disinfectant, puts it in the house. So she does a pretty good job at that. And just like you said, you can't be too careful, because it only takes a minute to clean it off. But if you get this virus, it's not good. And one other thing I wanted to talk, I just want to hit assessments again. I mean, we're not getting as many calls on assessments anymore, but I could tell you from talking to the other supervisors, all the assessors are getting the same type of complaints, with this being bad timing for the assessments and the letters going out. But every one of them, they're just following the law. They're just doing what they're supposed to be doing, what they're paid to do. And I think our assessor does a great job. I think the only thing for her is that over the years, they haven't done a good job at what the process is. And over the next year, we are going to explain the process. We're going to, in the town board meetings, I'm going to make sure that by this time next year, everybody's going to understand the process. And when people say that it's arbitrary and it's not fair, it is fair and it's not arbitrary. She has criteria that she uses. It may not seem, looking from the outside in, that it's a fair process, but I've had multiple discussions with her, and I can tell you she does a great job at explaining it, the process. Now, I understand the process, but I can't explain it as well as her. That's why I'm going to have her come in over the next year to make sure that all our residents understand that process and have an opportunity to discuss it. to, and I think when you get through, you will see that our assessor does a great job. She's the only one in Onondaga County that does pre-grievance day. So when she does the phone calls, she's giving you two bites at the apple. She doesn't have to do that, but she does it because a lot of times people don't have to go any further than the phone call with her. They don't have to go and appeal their assessment. They're able to do it over the phone with her. So I think that she's taken some undue criticism, and it's really because the public doesn't understand the system or the process. And we're gonna make sure that I'm gonna make sure that we change that over the next year.
I think that's a really good point. That's come up in a couple conversations I had, either through real estate and people talking about, what's going to happen if I pay, $20,000 more than what the house is assessed at right now. And I believe, and I could be wrong, so don't quote me, but PAC-B, our public access television channel here in Beeville, they want to put out some information about it as well. So you may be hearing about from them, just because there's so many people that don't know. And then you get frustrated with if you don't have the information.
PAC-B is going to have Teresa Golden on, our assessor.
Perfect.
Share her with the town of Van Buren. So really the Baldwinsville community, she's the assessor for the Baldwinsville community. And I know they want to bring her in to discuss the process. So we're going to do that all year long. Once PAC-B does it, if we have to do it 3-4 times, we're going to do it. We're going to, and any questions that anybody has, they can send to me. I will make sure we address them. I'm keeping a list of questions that I have now. So over the course of the year, all of those questions will be answered. And I think that, now, people don't like it when their assessments go up. But the bottom line is, you're in real estate, I think you can attest to this, our housing market has exploded. And when the housing market goes up, the assessments go up. That's just the way it works. That's the only way that government can receive their taxes, through assessments. So, I mean, that's just our process.
Right. No, and I think that's good to put out there, because I've heard as well that there's a lot of criticisms and phone calls coming in. But the other problem is, with the timing, it's not her timing, it's just the timing coincided. Is people are frustrated in general. They're worried financially about what's going to happen. A lot of people out of work. So, even though you can understand it, I do feel bad that she's taking the brunt of it right now for frustrations that are just building up because of social distancing, because of the unknown. So the information, you couldn't have a better time for the information to start getting out to the public so they can understand it. So that's a great idea.
I think we're going to try and bring her in next week at our town board meeting, because it's a closed meeting anyway. But if she can, I'm going to bring her in and just at least go through the process generally. And then over the course of the year, I'm going to bring her in as many times as we need to answer all the questions that need to get answered, so that people feel comfortable that the process is fair. But I can tell you, if it wasn't fair, I'd be the first one to say so. But I've been listening to her. I had conversations with her. When people send me an email asking a question, I ask her the question. And I can tell you, she does a very good job at explaining it. Unfortunately, I can't do as good a job as explaining it
either.
That's why she's the expert. I'm going to bring her in.
Perfect. So, okay. Well, is there anything else you can think of that you want to throw out to the community? Most likely, since we probably talk once a week on Tuesdays, more questions. If you guys have questions, send them into the town, send them to my page so that I can ask Bob next week. But is there anything you can think of, Bob, between now and next Tuesday that you think the public should be aware of, or at least our community?
I think if we can just stay at home over the next 2 weeks, when we do have to go out, get our mask. If you do have to go to the store, limit the time you go to the store instead of going every other day, because you have cabin fever, and cabin fever is a real thing.
Yes.
Cabin fever, don't go to the store. Don't go out in the public. Get out in the parks. It's nice out today. Go for a walk. Do some exercise. I mean, that's what we need to do over the next 2 weeks. And if we all do our part, if we can all do that, really be strict in our movement over the next 2 weeks, I think that it's going to make a big difference, and we could get over this hump and hopefully get back to doing what we normally do after these next 2 weeks.
Yeah, I agree. So, well, thank you again, Bob, for being here. And like I said, if anybody has questions, send them to the town, send them to me. We can get them Obviously, we can get the answers to you before next Tuesday, but I'll probably ask you next Tuesday if I hear anything, Bob, because if one person has the question, more than that one person has, the same question. So
Yeah.
I think, thanks for being here again.